South African Airways resumes its operations this morning after being grounded for 18 months. The airline has emerged from bankruptcy proceedings and will offer limited routes to passengers. For reaction, I'm now joined in studio by Aviation Analyst Phuthego Mojapele. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us in studio. The SAA essentially enters an aviation market that has changed rather fundamentally because of COVID-19 and the number of travels that are experienced and the airfares being dramatically reduced by some of the airlines. How does this bode for you as we see the latest developments of SAA from today?
Well, thanks, Mpo, and your viewers at home. I think it's a very much calculative move for SAA to restart at this time. I think what they have done is to look at the need on the market. If you look at the routes that they have decided to choose to operate on, are really much where there's a need for a national carrier like SAA to operate on that. And to add on that, they also reduced quite significantly operations domestically here at home. You only have one route, which is Cape Town. Cape Town is quite effective as far as the load factor, and I think they have done very well in starting much smaller in terms of the personnel, in terms of the fleet, as well as the route networks. And I think gradually we will see them starting. But obviously there's so much restrictions, as you know, for the international routes. That's why they're not entertaining international routes at the moment, I would think, because of the restrictions that are out there. But within African continent and the region, and obviously domestic, I think the move was very much clever. I hope it's going to work out for them.
Very well. I'd like for you to hold that thought as we continue our discussion in a short while. We will continue there, our conversation with the aviation analyst, Phuthego Mojapele, as we speak all things SAA, and of course that and more coming up shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We continue to speak about South African Airways resuming and getting operational with reaction from aviation analyst Phuthego Mojapele. Just before the break, we were talking about the aviation market, how it's changed so much with COVID-19, and what really stands out of interest is the fares. When we look at what happened before SAA and during the time that it wasn't operational, there were some complaints about how much people were being charged to fly. Yeah,
as you know, the other airlines were not operational. Your Mango, your Comair, they were not operating. You were only left with two airlines, which was the SAA Air as well as Airlink. And during that time, we saw a massive increase on prices from these airlines, even though they have so much schedules that are going up and down between Cape Town and Joburg, but their prices were quite high. In fact, there was quite a lot of reaction on the market that they were quite significantly high. But once SAA came back and started opening, selling the tickets, we saw them dropping their prices quite a lot. And obviously, I would imagine that obviously SAA shaped the market because they started selling their ticket one way, Cape Town 750. So that was quite good for them to start and obviously to lure those customers that they lost. And I think obviously with the basis of the restrictions that are existing currently, people will not expect to have a premium service, fully premium service from these airlines because obviously we can't have all those things that you would get on a premium service. But at the same time, you should be able to pay a decent amount of price as far as the travel is concerned.
I suppose the big elephant in the room now is SAA flights resuming, but the restart costs, where would that money be coming from, especially on how SAA is managing to do this with that pending takeover decision, that 51% purchase that still needs to be made?
Yeah, so when the BRP concluded their processes, there was allocation that was about 10.5 billion. And on that 10.5 billion, there was about I think it was about 5 billion that was set aside for restart of the SAA. So that amount of money, it is the one I would imagine that they are using to restart the airline. But the rest of the other money was going out to creditors and obviously to pay the VSPs to those employees that have left the company, and obviously try to repay the customers that have booked the tickets and they never honor those tickets as an airline. So the 5 billion plus that was put aside for restart of SAA, I think that's where the money comes from. And obviously the leasings that they have cancelled, and obviously they've entered into a new agreements which are much cheaper than the ones that they used to have, and obviously the fleet composition is also very small, only 6 320s, narrow bodies, and then you have your 330s and your 340s that they outrightly own as an airline. So I think the cost would be much smaller, and with Takatso not being in place as they indicated, it is one thing that we should also be worried about, more especially when they went on public announcing 51% stake, and suddenly they are not part of the relaunch, and that should worry the customer confidence as far as SAA is concerned.
And to what my understanding is, Takatso Consortium is essentially working behind the scenes, auditing and doing due diligence to ensure that this indeed is the deal to invest in. What will happen should they find that, as they do due diligence, that this is not the case to invest in, this is not the business deal that they want to be a part of?
I think there's a lot at stake here. Well, firstly, let me start about that percentage that we're talking about, 51 plus, that they have. SAA made a mention of another percentage that is going to be made available to ever parties that are interested in investing in this. And I think in that regard, if the plans are not working out, the manner in which they have started without them, surely it would be the same way that they would approach this matter. If it would be something that will not be considered from the point of Takatso, I think the plan that they have started with is a good plan. They could easily go without the stake being sold to the other parties. But it is a concern for me, I must say, it is a concern for me that Takatso is not involved in the restart of the airline. It is a serious concern, because you don't announce something and the next thing something doesn't happen. It really affects the confidence, and we should really try and look into this. They shouldn't take that long to conclude, especially when you made an announcement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on that discussion. Of course, aviation analyst Phuthego Mojapele, they're giving us some insight of what it means for SAA to be in the airs today, and some of the concerns when it comes to Takatso Consortium not being on board on this very important day.